song.
If You Love This Planet, made by the Canadian Film Board. Oh, good. It's still the same, only worse. So I'm glad about a third of the audience understand the implications of nuclear war, but we're going to have to go through the whole thing again. It's excellent the Faculty of Medicine have provided this venue for me to speak, and because this is a medical issue, I always speak as a doctor. It's scientific, but it's mostly medical. Unfortunately, we're in a very tricky situation now. We have, on the one hand, global warming, and I've just revised this book, actually also called If You Love This Planet, that's for sale over there, that deals with global warming, ozone depletion, deforestation, desertification, overpopulation, toxic pollution, you name it, and why it's all happening because of the media, particularly one Rupert Murdoch, but others, and the right-wing think tanks and how they manipulate propaganda and information. The media are very important because they're determining the fate of the earth. You either keep people ignorant and amused with film stars or various extraneous activities, or you teach them what is going on. And at the moment, most people are entirely ignorant or fairly ignorant about the situation on the planet. I'm sure you are all well aware of global warming. There was a recent report from London, and I can't remember the group that produced it, who said the temperatures might actually rise 4 degrees centigrade by the end of this century. That will be catastrophic, not just to the human species. I'll tell you, near Sydney, where I lived one day 2 years ago, it was actually New Year's Day, the temperature went to 42. Now, I don't know what that is. Well, you deal with centigrade, don't you? Yeah. Not Americans. It was almost impossible to survive. We were getting in the shower every 5 minutes. It was so hot. All my plants were literally baked like in an oven, and they all died. The cat didn't know what to do with itself because it's all covered in fur. And then the bush in Australia is tinder dry, and we live surrounded by gum trees, which are full of eucalyptus oil and burn like hell. We had a fire from us less than a K away, and the wind was blowing in the direction of the house at 50 k an hour. We are having presently the third dust storm in Sydney, which is originating in the centre of Australia, where the British did their testing of nuclear weapons and scattered purposefully 24 kilos of plutonium, when plutonium is so toxic that a millionth of a gram or maybe a nanogram could induce cancer, hypothetically. And you can't do this, but if you had distributed a kilo of plutonium around the world in everyone's lungs, that is a lethal dose, would give everyone cancer in the world. And they scattered 24 kilos and really hasn't been cleaned up on Aboriginal tribal land, of course. So the wind was blowing from that direction, and also from a huge uranium mine we've got run by BHP Billiton, which is an English company called Olympic Dam, with 85 million tonnes of uranium tailings just lying in piles. So almost inevitably that dust was relatively radioactive, very dilute, but if you actually inhaled a speck of plutonium or some radon gas or radium, which gave Madame Curie cancer or leukemia, you could later develop cancer. So I'm going to walk you through the nuclear fuel cycle, but I want to stress that most politicians are scientifically and medically illiterate, including yours. They are run, on the whole, by corporations who not only talk to them all the time and get audiences with them all the time, but they give them money. So it's bribery and corruption. The same in the United States. The climate bill is being absolutely eviscerated as I speak. Even Ed Markey, who helped write the bill with Waxman, he's a wonderful man, but there are subsidies for nuclear power in that bill. Ed is potently anti-nuclear. Things are grim. Our government, we've got a new Prime Minister called Rudd, who's worse than John Howard, and if you remember what John Howard was like, he was dreadful. But Rudd is a wolf in sheep's clothing who is for uranium mining all over our country. We've got 40% of the world's richest uranium, and he is subsidising the coal companies to make more pollution, and he says we've got to reduce CO2 by 5% by 2020. It's got to be, we've got to reduce it by 20 to 25%. Okay, I'll go more slowly. Sorry, and I've got a funny accent. Okay, I'll go more slowly. Rudd is a wolf in sheep's clothing, our Prime Minister, who is going to actually increase global warming with his climate bill and is mining uranium all over the country, and has, even though I, in the 70s, stopped uranium mining by talking to the unions and specifically talking about the medical effects of uranium mining upon their testicles. And that actually resonated with most Australian workers, and they banned uranium mining for 5 years. But then we got a very bad Prime Minister called Bob Hawke, who instigated a 3-mine policy, which is like being a little bit pregnant, and now we've opened the whole thing up. But you're in a similar position to us. We are sycophants to the United States government, so are you. You are full of uranium. Your uranium was used to make the first nuclear weapons. Chalk River was a reactor where plutonium was made for the first nuclear weapons. You are part of NORAD and the early warning first strike system of the United States of America, which would induce nuclear winter and the end of all life on Earth. Canadians are very polite, but it's time you became the leaders and told America what to do. You have an ally now, I think, in President Obama. He needs your support. So I'm going to try and rouse you to a revolutionary status today. I've only got 15, 30, 40, 45 minutes to do it in. So I'm going to start. Before I preface this talk by saying that this book, Nuclear Power is Not the Answer to Global Warming, is also over there for sale, and it walks you through the medical dangers and environmental dangers of nuclear power. The Nuclear Energy Institute in America has spent more than $200 million telling people that nuclear power is the answer to global warming because it's clean and green. That is a lie. And it's inappropriate for people to lie on television. If we lie in medicine, we would be deregistered. Scientists should not lie, nor participate in activities that could kill people. And that means scientists working for the quotes defence industry as well. It's not defence, actually. Okay, so I'm going to use this chart, and I don't know if you can all see it. Maybe we need to move that more sideways and put the chart in the centre. Can you see it over there? Oh, good. All right, now the uranium, the nuclear fuel cycle, it's okay, the nuclear fuel cycle starts with uranium, which you have, and so do we. Now there are two, and you're an educated audience in a university, I'm not going to give you the basics, I'll expect that you all understand half-lives and isotopes and the like. Uranium has two isotopes, 238 and 235. When it's mined in the natural world, this is present only in 0.7%, and this is the only fissionable isotope. It's used for nuclear reactors and for nuclear weapons. This is called depleted uranium, DU. It is not depleted of radiation, it's depleted of uranium-235 because that's removed from the ore to make fuel for nuclear power and weapons. This is a very important material. It's 1.7 times more dense than lead. It's free because it's radioactive waste, and the Pentagon have found it to be very useful to make anti-tank shells, because as momentum equals mass by velocity, you've got a very dense mass, you send off these shells, they travel very fast, they hit the other person's tank, and the shells penetrate the tank. At the same time though, 80% of it volatilizes and burns. It's very reactive when exposed to air, producing tiny aerosolized particles less than 5 microns in diameter that can be inhaled into the terminal air passages of the lung, there to sit for many years irradiating a small volume of cells and later on to induce